Hey, what's up, everybody? Nelson, aka Amish Country Mets fan here, and this is the Amish Apple Podcast, episode 5. And if you've been listening to the last few episodes or watching on YouTube, you know that what I've been doing lately is interviewing Mets fans that no longer live in New York, or maybe never lived in New York at all. They might live in various states across the country or all over the world. So that's been the goal, get fans' perspective, see what it's like living in whatever cities they live in, if they're able to go to Mets games, what it's like going to Mets games in their areas, how they keep up with the team, so on and so forth, how they became fans. So that's what I wanted to do. Specifically, I wanted to interview fans from cities that we travel to so wherever the Mets go for a road trip, I'd like to get people from those cities. Last week we had my buddy Angel from Chicago. This week we're home though, so I was going to interview a buddy of mine from Vegas. That fell through, so I figured I would take the time to tell my story. Some of you may know my story. Some of you may know bits and pieces. Some of you may not know at all who I am. So I'll figure this is a good time to get it all out there. So what I always ask my guests first is, how'd you become a Mets fan? So how I became a Mets fan, I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was born in 1986 after the Mets won the World Series. I was born in December of 86. At the time, obviously, New York was a Mets crazy town. My family, big Mets fans. My mom was telling me stories of how she would watch all the games, especially the playoff games. She told me stories about listening to the game on the radio, that crazy game in Houston in the playoffs that went like, oh man, I forget how many innings. Was it 16? So just I've heard all kinds of stories growing up about 86 specifically, but other just Mets in general. So I was always a big Mets fan, or my family was always big Mets fans. So I grew up into it. My first memories of seeing games myself and remembering like vividly was 1993. I remember bits and pieces before that, but not really anything too crazy. But 93, the worst team money could buy. That's my first memory. That's the year I went to my first game at Shea. So I grew up watching the Mets when they were bad. They were not a good team. 93 was bad. 94 strike shortened, but they were bad. 95, they were bad. Mets didn't start to turn it around till late 90s, 97, 98, 99. But if you're listening to this, you're Mets fans, you know the story. My first favorite player that I can remember was Todd Hundley. I've always had a thing for Mets catcher, so Todd Hundley was my first favorite Met. I liked Bonilla. I didn't know any better. I liked Bonilla a little bit at the time. Remember, I'm a young kid. But Todd Hundley was my guy. And then that transitioned quickly to Mike Piazza when he got traded to the Mets. So big Mike Piazza guy. Love the dude. To have his jersey, like he's my number one Met of all time. So that's basically how I became a fan. Eventually, I moved away. So the story there, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. I'll go back to, because 1999 was my favorite Mets team ever. If you can remember, it's the greatest infield ever cover with Ray Ordonez and Edgardo Alfonso, John Olerud, Robin Ventura. I love that team. Loved it even more than the 2000 team that went to the World Series. I still hate Kenny Rogers to this day for blowing that game 6 against the Braves. Always hated the Braves. I will always hate the Braves more than any other team, just because I grew up in the 90s and they killed the Mets over and over and over. Chipper Jones has a special place in my like players that I hate the most, such as John Rocker and Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, Andrew Jones, all of them. I just hated every last one of them. So yeah, I'm a Braves hater first and foremost. Hate the Yankees as well, but that's more of a Yankee fan thing than the Yankees themselves, because I don't really consider the Yankees a rival. My rivals are the division rivals. So Phillies next on my hate list. Obviously, we had our issues with Phillies in the 2000s. So yeah, 99 was my favorite team ever. So I had to mention that. 2000 obviously sucked, losing the World Series. And I mean, you guys know there's been a lot of bad years. 2005 and 6 were awesome. Again, it's funny because 2006 was amazing. The team was amazing. They should have won the World Series that year. But I remember 2005 even more fondly in ways. And I think it's because, and this is where I'll get to my story of moving away and how this led me to where I am today. So 2005, I am, how old am I? 19 at the time. Right? Yeah. No. Well, at the time I'm thinking I'm still 18. Living in New York, working odd jobs, living crazy life, just partying and stuff. And I remember one night I was online, and there was this website that you could get on and play games, and there was all these different games you could play. And I was playing checkers. And you could play with random people, and there was a chat option on the side where you could talk to these people. So it so happened one night I was bored. I started playing checkers, and it's this girl that I found out I'm talking to this girl. So we start talking back and forth. Eventually start flirting a little bit, yada, yada. See her again the next night, start talking again. And it just became a nightly thing. Then it was like every night we'd meet online, play checkers. I want to say we did this for like 2 or 3 weeks before we exchanged phone numbers. And then we just start talking on the phone all night. So then the way this ties back into the Mets is she didn't know baseball. And I've always been a huge baseball fan. So she didn't know the game at all. So I'm like telling her a little bit about the Mets and about baseball. And we found out that she lived in Pennsylvania, Northwest Pennsylvania. She was going to college in Edinburgh, PA. Found out that she got Pix 11. So whenever there would be Mets games on, I'd call her up and we'd watch the game and just talk on the phone while we watch the game. And she'd ask questions and I explain what was going on, yada, yada. Her favorite Met at the time, we had signed Pedro Martinez. She loved Pedro. Loved Pedro, loved Cliff Floyd. Jose Reyes was another one of her favorites. And we just talk and just literally talk throughout the whole game. One game I remember specifically, I want to say it was June. I looked it up recently. It was June 15th, I want to say, 2005. June 11th. It's right around that time. Mets are playing the Angels. And it was a game on Saturday on Pix 11. And Cliff Floyd comes up. And the game, I don't remember if it was extra innings or it was the 9th inning. But either way, Cliff Floyd comes up, game tied, and he hits a walk-off homer. And we're on the phone together, and I go crazy. And she's excited, but you could tell she doesn't she knew we won, but she was hesitant to get too excited, but she was happy. And then we just kept talking and talking. And I was super pumped. So yeah, man, it just that our relationship just kind of built from that. And then eventually that same year, no, the next year, is when I moved. So season ends, yada, yada. She came to visit me in New York. Then I came to visit her in Pennsylvania. We basically just did the what do you call it? The long distance relationship thing. But it wasn't working for me. It was driving me crazy. I did get her out to New York and we went to a game at Shea together in 2006. That was fun. Actually, no, that we came back. So in 2006, I ended up packing up my stuff and moving out here. And then the next year, we came back in 2007 and went to a game at Shea. So she got to experience Shea once before they tore it down. So I'm glad that happened. But yeah, around towards the end of 2006, because the Mets were on that big run and just killing teams, I ended up just packing up a bag and taking a Greyhound bus and coming out here. And that's where I've been ever since. We ended up getting married, and we're coming up on our 14th wedding anniversary. And I put out a tweet because we went from talking on the phone, watching Mets games on Pix 11 to now the way we're celebrating our anniversary is going to PNC Park and watching the Mets play the Pirates at PNC. We go every year. We've gone every year faithfully. I think we've only missed 1 year since I moved here. And I think that was the year my daughter was born because she was like so little we couldn't take her. But yeah, other than that, we've gone faithfully every year, and it's been awesome. And I love PNC Park and love seeing all the Mets fans at PNC Park. I don't get to New York very often, so I don't get to Citi Field often. I have been a couple times. So going to games in Pittsburgh is awesome, though. I went with the 7 line back in 2015, did an outing with them. A couple years ago, they did another outing. I didn't sit with them. That was the game that Edwin Diaz gave up the walk-off homer to, I believe it was Jacob Stallings. I was so mad that game. I think I told this story on the live yesterday. I ended up just walking out of the stadium. It was supposed to be fireworks night, or it was fireworks night, and everybody was staying behind watching the fireworks. And I just couldn't. I was so upset. That place went nuts when he hit that homer. I was sitting in a weird angle, so you couldn't really see that corner of the outfield. But oh man, that gutted me so much, and I lost it. I left. My hotel room was right across the street. I went across the street, slammed the door. I didn't want to talk to nobody. I had tickets to the Sunday game. I gave them away. I sold them. I was actually able to sell them, and I drove back home. I live about an hour and a half north of Pittsburgh. I drove home. First time that I didn't go to every game in the series. Every game in the series. So, other than that series that I missed because of my daughter, but yeah, that one sucked. But last year was a lot better. Last year I actually went on my own for the first time. Wife couldn't get out of some commitments she had, and it was during the week, which usually it's a weekend series, but this one was during the week. So I ended up going on my own. I had a blast. It was fun. Got to sit behind home plate. Going to do that again this coming series. So that'll be fun. Every seat in PNC Park is freaking amazing, by the way. If you've never been, I suggest you come out. It's a great place to catch a game. Really is. And if you come during a Mets series, being a Mets fan, it's so much fun. There's so many New Yorkers end up making the trip or live in Pittsburgh or whatever, and it's a really good time. And Pirates fans they don't have a lot of fans to begin with, but on weekend series, they tend to show up a little better, and especially if there's giveaways or it's fireworks night. But they're not, for the most part, they're super nice people. Every once in a while you get a jerk, but that's in pretty much every stadium, I think. But yeah, living out here, my experience as a Mets fan, and this is kind of why I started doing this in a sense. This whole content creating and whatnot. There's no, I love, obviously I love the Mets. I grew up with it. But for a long time, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Like, I have family that are Mets fans, but they're not like as super into it as I am anymore. And friends from back home, you just kind of lost touch and whatnot. So I didn't really have people to talk to about the Mets ever. So getting on Twitter and finding other Mets fans to talk to, that was pretty cool. And then I just decided, you know what, I want to do this whole content thing. And since then, I'm like in group chats with other Mets fans and collaborating with other Mets fans on YouTube and doing podcasts and this, that, and the other. And it's been really fun. It's like I've always been passionate about the team, but it's almost like ignited it a little more even. So yeah, it's been awesome. Especially, I mean, I don't want to get too far into this, but I was having a really rough time, mental health wise, before I started all this and before the season started. Like, it was really dark place. So doing this, I needed something. There was nothing. Nothing was. I mean, as hard as it is to say it, like not even like family, my wife, my kid, like nothing was like giving me that will to like go on. Like, I needed something in my life that like really to like grab onto and like work towards. And I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, but I just needed something. And this thing that I'm doing now has become that something. And whether it turns into a big thing or whether it's just me doing this for fun, it's been awesome meeting new people and talking to people, and I'm hoping to be able to go to games with some of these people. And I feel like I've made actual friends. Like, I know it's an online thing and Twitter isn't real life and yada, yada, yada. But like, if you look back, like even if you look on my YouTube, you'll see like we've done live streams with some guys that I've become pretty tight with. And it's a community, man. And it's a community that I love. And it's really picked me up. And the only thing I'm having some trouble with is like finding the balance between that and family time and doing work stuff and all that. But I need to get better at that. But it's just, it's been a big help. Like, it's helped with a lot. And obviously there's still times I get down and whatnot. But it's been awesome. And yeah, looking forward to doing more, and I'm going to be doing some content next week. And obviously mostly going to try to enjoy my anniversary, enjoy my wife, and have fun. But I am going to film some stuff while I'm down there and, you know, get our reactions to things. Maybe I'll film the fireworks or whatever that maybe people might want to see. That the freaking backdrop in Pittsburgh is awesome, especially at night. So that would be cool. Keep an eye out on that. And yeah, man, it's been the only missing piece is a World Series, obviously. Like, obviously, also, like, I wish the Mets were more consistent in putting out winning teams out there. But win or lose, I'm always watching. I watch almost every game. Obviously, sometimes we all need a little break and whatnot. But for the most part, I'm watching every inning, every game, talking to my boys, and just, it's fun, man. It's really fun. I'm trying to get my kid into it, and she's got her Mets gear. And sometimes you'll see her in my videos and whatnot. And yeah, it's a family thing. So yeah, that's my little story. I don't want to get too sappy, too sentimental. But I figured this would give me the fact that it didn't work out with my guest this week, just gave me an opportunity for those who might not know my background, to learn a little bit about it. And I don't know, hopefully it's interesting. Some people say it's like fascinating to them and whatnot. If you don't know, if you haven't listened before, I live not only do I live in Northwest Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere, but I live on a farm, and I live in what I consider Amish country because I have Amish neighbors all around me. Big Amish community. It isn't Lancaster, PA. It's not like the Amish country, but there are a lot of Amish around here. You'll see, and there's even a couple of my videos. There's like horse and buggies and whatnot, and it's an interesting dynamic. Going from New York City to out here was a hell of an adjustment. I'm used to it now. Now it's like going back to New York is hard for me. Like, I do miss the food and the Mets and all that good stuff, but the lifestyle of it all, I much prefer living out in the middle of nowhere and quiet and the slow pace of it. Like I've really grown to love all that. So that's it. That's me. That's my story. I hope you stuck around to listen to it. I'm just going to take this opportunity. I hate to do this, but it's one of those things you have to do if you want to grow. Just remind people to please like, comment, and subscribe. If you can, share this with a friend. My YouTube, if you're watching, I'll put the subscribe to my YouTube there at the bottom at Amish Country Mets Fan. On Twitter, I'm at Amish Country Met. Got a lot of different videos on YouTube. I'm always thinking of trying new content to try out. So please check it out if you can. Leave a comment. Let me know. I'm always down. If you do content yourself, I'm always down to collab. If you happen to be a Met fan that doesn't live in New York and you're abroad and wherever, just give me a shout. Love to have you on and talk to you about your experience and what it's like wherever you are. So yeah, my guest from this week obviously didn't pan out. Hopefully in the future we will work it out. Next week, I think I am going to try to have a Braves fan on, not a Braves fan, someone that's experienced games in Atlanta. I don't think they actually live in Atlanta, but they're down south in Braves country. So that's the goal for next week. Obviously next week the Mets go to Pittsburgh as well, so I'll be out there for that. And then the following week, I think that might be the Yankees series, so that'll be interesting. Have to find a guest for that. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You can find this on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. Google it, look it up on any podcast platform and look up Amish Apple Podcasts, and you should be able to find it. So that's that. Thank you all. I appreciate you all. And hopefully the Mets get a win tonight. And have a good one, everybody. Let's do it.